Hey, what's up everyone? So far so good with our chat application, and in the last episode we were able to click on a certain chat and we were able to open it right here and read the messages. So that is really cool because now in this episode we are going to add an input field at the very bottom here, and we will now be able to submit a message and save that message to the DB. Okay, and then after this we'll now start checking at socket.io, where we'll add the real-time system, real-time chatting, real-time notification, and so on. So first of all, before we continue, I want to give a huge thank you to everyone who have supported my channel, to everyone who have been watching my videos, because I can see now right here we are approaching at 10k subscribers. So thank you so much for the huge support, and I really appreciate this achievement. And if you are watching and you haven't subscribed yet and you actually get to enjoy my videos, please go ahead and subscribe. I know we can get 100k, so I really appreciate. Okay, so thank you so much. And another thing is that if you wish to support me on Patreon, I can see we are already at 11 patrons. I'm sure we can get to 100. Just go to patreon.com/ChaooCharles and join as a patron. The benefits that you get from this is that I upload all the source codes right here. So if you want all the source code for this particular chat application, it's already on Patreon. And then we also have the e-commerce source code and my React portfolio source code, and I'll be adding more with time. So those are the benefits. So let's just dive right back to our chat app, and whatever we are going to do is to add an input field at the bottom of our chat box. So in the chat box component, we will make use of an existing library to add the input field. The benefit of using this library is because it has the emoji feature, but you can totally use a normal input field. There is no problem with that. Okay, so let me go ahead and open my terminal, and I'll add a new terminal here. Go to cd client. So right here I'll say npm I, and I will install react input emoji. So this will install this particular library, and right here we can be able to import something from it. So I'll say import, and we will be importing a component called input emoji, and these will be coming from that library. So from react input emoji. Cool. So this is an input component, and we can make use of it just after our messages stack, this stack here. So after this we can come right here, and we are going to actually add another stack for this one. So I'll say stack, and we will make the direction to be horizontal. So here I will add direction prop to be horizontal, and then we will also add a gap. So whatever we are organizing here is the input emoji component and the button. So we want them to be horizontal, and we also want them to have a gap of 3. Also, I'll add some class name. So right here I'll add a class name component plop, and I'll say chat input. So this is a custom style from our index.css. Then I'll also add a bootstrap class name flex grow of 0. Cool. Now right here we can make use of our input component. So I'll say input emoji, and it will accept several props. The first one is the value. This is whatever changes that we are making, we can store it in state, and then we have the onChange event to update that state. So let's make a piece of state here. We can just do it right here. So I'll say const text message, and then set text message, and these will be equal to use state. We bring it in from React, and initially it can be an empty string. Okay, this should be const. Cool. Now at our this component, input emoji component, we will have a value prop, so we can say value, and we'll set this value to be our text message. So this is the state that we have just set, and then we will have the onChange event here, onChange, and right here we will update our text message by calling set text message. Just that, then input emoji will know what to do with it. And then right here we can specify the font family, so we can say red font family. For consistency, since input emoji comes with its own, we can set this one to Nonito, since that's the font family I guess we are using. And finally, I can set a specific border color, and I'll say here, okay, I'll set this one to be equal to RGBA, these values 72, 112, and 223, and for opacity 0.2. So I'll save to auto format these. So this is these are the props that we are adding there, okay? And with these, whenever we type something, it will update the text message, so we can confirm that. So I'll say text. Okay, we can log it to the console.log of text message. Okay, let's confirm if it's updating. So we go to our app and we click on a conversation, and look at the bottom here, we now have that input emoji component, and also we are able to add emojis by clicking on this. So this is the beauty of using that component. And let's just open the console here. So console and text, it's null. Let's type something, hello. Look, it's updating, so it's working well. Let's add an emoji, this one, there we go. So it's working fine. The next step is to submit this message to the backend, okay? But we need to have a button, so let's add the button first. So okay, we need to come back to our chat box here, and after the input emoji, we'll add a button. So right here we'll say button, and we'll have a class name for this button, and I'll say send btn. Okay, cool. And then for this button, we can just say send, or you can use an icon here. Should we use an icon? Let's just use an icon. Let me show you how to do it. You can just search for bootstrap icons, okay, go to this site, icons, get bootstrap icons, then you can search for icon. I'm not sure what we should search for. Let me say send and see if we get something. There we go. We have a lot of icons here which you can use. I think I can use this one, the filter one. Then you can go to right here and copy this SVG. I'll copy and I'll come back and paste it here. Okay, there we go. I'll save to auto format, and you can change this class here to class name. There we go. I'll save, and we can check if it's there now. And here we are. We have this icon now added right here. That's pretty awesome, right? now we just need to add functionality to this icon, okay, to this button, so that when we click, we actually send this message. So for that, we will be adding a function that will help us to send a message, so that when we click on this button, we call that function, and we'll create that function in our chat context. So context, chat context, we will create it here. So at our chat context, after the use effect, we can add a function here. So I'll say const send text message, and we set this to be equal to the use callback hook. Here we'll be having a dependency array like this. Okay, and now here we can be able to perform a HTTP request to send a message. So that will be a post request, and all these were get requests. So now we are making a post request. So right here, let's make that request. First of all, we can check if we have a text message or not. So right here, we will be receiving the text message in this particular function. Also, we will be receiving the sender. So this is the currently logged in user. We will be receiving the current chat ID. So we will be receiving the current chat ID, and also the set text message right here, set text message, to update our input field. So now we can check if we have a text message or not. So right here, if we don't have the text message, we can go ahead and return immediately, so that we don't send these requests. So we can immediately return just a log there to prevent us from submitting an empty text. Okay, so right here now, we will make the request. We had already created a service called post request, and we should make sure that we are actually importing that, and we just need to call it. The first parameter is the URL, so I make use of the backtick for us to add the base URL right here, and we use / messages. So that will be our endpoint for the post request. And the second parameter for this post request is the body, and we will use JSON.stringify. We invoke this one, and whatever we pass in here is now the shape of our message. We will be having the chat ID. So here we pass the current chat ID. Each message should have a chat ID, and then we should have the sender ID, and right here we pass our sender _ID, and finally we should have a message. Okay, so right here we should have a text, and we pass our text message. Okay, now this is our HTTP request. It takes some time to process. We can await it and store the response in a constant. So we store the response here in a constant, and we await our post request. Awesome. If we use await, we should use async at this particular function. So we add async to this callback, so that this doesn't throw the error there. Okay, cool. Now we have our response, and this will either contain the error or the data. So we can check if we have an error right here. Okay, I will add some piece of state right here. Two of them. One will store the message error, and once we successfully send a message to the backend, if we get back the message, we can set a new message was successfully added to the backend. Then we will use that piece of state later on for our socket.io implementation. So you'll see how this will work out. So first of all, right here, let's have send text message error, and right here we can set send text message error to be equal to use state initially let it be null. Okay, and also I'll add another one here, const new message, and right here set new message. Initially this should also be null, so use state null. Okay, so we have those two piece of state. Now right here we check for the error and update the error. I can copy this one and paste it here, but update this one here to set send text message error to response. Okay, so now if we don't have an error, that means that we have successfully saved that message to the DB and we get it back. So right here we can set the new message to state here. Also we should do two more other things. The other thing that we can do is to clear our input using set text message here. So we set text message here to an empty string. Now the final thing that we should do, we should update our array of messages or our messages state. So we have set messages here and we invoke that. Now to correctly update this, we can use a callback here which will have access to the previous state, and the previous state is the array of messages, and we spread it here previous, and now right here we add the response. Okay, I think that should work correctly. Now the only thing that remains is for us to use this send text message on our button. So we should come right here, pass it through the value. So send text message, was it that way? Yeah, send text message, we pass it there, we save that. In our chat box we are able to get it right here, send text message, send text message. Now once we get it right here from chat context, we are able to use it at our button. So we will be adding an on click event to this button. So we will say on click, and this is what we will do. Right here we will return send text message, and we call it and we pass our parameters. So we will pass the text message parameter, and then we will pass our user. So user now there will be the sender here. Then we pass the current chat ID and set text message. Okay, so the current chat ID will be current chat dot underscore ID, and we also pass the send text message. This will be used to update this input right here. Cool. Chaoo here, and maybe I can inspect in case of any error. We see them at the console. So let's type something. Good morning. Let's add a fancy emoji like this one. I now click send, and look, this emoji is added right here. And okay, I think, okay, we don't have an error. It's added there, and let's refresh and see if it's still there. So we go to Chaoo, and look, we have our message here. I realized something. I am fine. Whenever I send, the state is not being cleared here. Our message is being sent, everything I think is fine, but we have a few issues. Now, the only thing that we will do is for us to add the real-time messaging, because right now, whenever I send a message, it will save to the database, but it will not update automatically for the other user. I don't know if I should show you a demonstration. I can open Chrome here, two browsers, different browsers here. So right here, let me go to the same URL here, and for this browser I can go to login. I'll try to log in as Jane Doe. So Jane at gmail.com, and will I remember the password? I'm not sure, but let's see. Okay, I can't remember the password. There we go. Awesome. So I can open this chat right here, and I can open this chat right here. So if we are chatting with Jane Doe here, if I say hello, so this will correctly update the state right here, but it will not update that state at our John right here. Okay, so it's not real time until we refresh these. So it's in the database, so if we refresh and come back, it's when we see it, but it's not real time. So we will be using Socket.io for us to even get the message real time. When we send it to the server, we also get it right here, and we'll do that in the next episode. So this is the fun part where we are getting to use Socket.io. So when we send a message here, hello, we are having this uncaught error, and we are not clearing the state. So I think the issue is at our chat box right here. So right here we are trying to call send text message again, and the second time it calls, we don't have the user ID, and also we don't have the text message and so on. So what we can do right here is to make sure that this is called correctly, set text message, and that way it won't call send text message again without a user. So let's see now. I think that should solve it. I'm not sure actually, but let's see. So now if I send a hi and send, look, it sent the message here, and also the state is and also our console doesn't have the error. Okay, that's awesome. Now the next thing that remains is for us to throw in Socket.io and add the real-time functionality to our app, and we'll do that in the next episode. Also later on we'll be adding auto scroll to this one, so that when you send a message it automatically scrolls. And remember to subscribe to my channel. Let's grow the channel real quick. If you are enjoying my content, also support me on Patreon, and I'll see you in the next one.